Hey guys, this is Danny J from the Keep on Tolkien podcast,
This is Joel N.
and we're here to tell you about a little thing we're doing for the holidays called The Gift of Tolkien, hashtag The Gift of Tolkien. And it's a little thing that we want to encourage you guys to give Tolkien books as gifts to people, because I was given The Hobbit as a gift from my friend Sam, and it changed my life, and obviously I wouldn't have a fucking Tolkien podcast if this were the case.
Right. If you haven't realized by now, we really love Tolkien's work, and it was the work that we got of his was gifted to us most of the time. I think my first version of The Hobbit was probably from half price, but I got a handful of Tolkien's work last Christmas.
From me, right?
From you.
From me!
And that's what really started it all off for me. That I got all sorts of stuff, and it really deepened my love. And as you know, that's what we're trying to do with this podcast is share the love, guys.
And if you don't know, if you love Keep on Tolkien at all, to any degree, it is because we were gifted. Like, this wouldn't be a thing, guys, if not for giving Tolkien books. And we just want to kind of spread that around. So if you guys hit us up on Twitter or Facebook, let us know who you gave a Tolkien book to this holiday. Hashtag it The Gift of Tolkien. And we'll talk about you in either a further episode or we'll do one of our nifty new videos we've been doing.
We'll try to do a follow-up and just kind of keep track of what was going on, see how successful we were in our Gift of Tolkien this year. This is our first year we're trying to do this. Maybe next year we'll try to turn it into even like a fundraiser type thing. But
right, yeah, but... give a kid the copy of The Hobbit. Change his life.
Right. If you have an adult, give him an adult content book.
Yeah, give him. If you got somebody that's read the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, give them the Silmarillion. Man, change their life. It'll change everything.
There's plenty of options out there.
Yeah, plenty of options out there. Plenty of Tolkien books. If you don't know somebody you could give a Tolkien book to, say you don't have any friends, that's fine. Just hit us up or donate to a library or there's plenty of book charities out there.
Right. And if you can't think of some place to donate to, hit us up, and we'll try to help you guys and guide you to some places where you could donate some Tolkien books.
Yeah. So this holiday season, guys, whatever holiday you're celebrating, if you're celebrating with gifts, first of all, happy holidays from Keep on Tolkien.
Happy holidays, guys.
And
spread the love.
Spread the love. Give the gift of Tolkien. Hashtag the gift of Tolkien.
And as always, guys, keep on Tolkien.
Keep on Tolkien.
Bright Eärendil was then lord of the people that dwelt nigh to Sirian's mouths. And he took to wife Elwing the Fair, and she bore to him Elrond and Elros, who are called the half-elven. Yet Eärendil could not rest, and his voyages about the shores of the hitherlands eased not his unquiet. Two purposes grew in his heart, blended as one, in longing for the wide sea. He sought to sail thereon, seeking after Tuor and Idril who did not return, and he thought to find perhaps the last shore, and bring ere he died the message of elves and men to the Valar in the west, that should move their hearts to pity for the sorrows of Middle-earth.
Hey guys, welcome back to Keep on Tolkien. This is Danny J.
This is Joel N.
And we're here with episode 14, talking about Eärendil, character profile.
Eärendil, he's kind of the prophesized savior of elves and men.
Yeah, he's kind of where it comes all together. And his story is the last story in the Silmarillion. So congratulations, guys. We've
kind of covered the Quentis Silmarillion.
Yeah, we've kind of covered the
we definitely didn't cover all the information in there, but we gave a brief summary of the major stories.
Of the major stories. So
major detail.
If you had all loved this season, or you're more interested in these stories, just pick up the Silmarillion. Look no further than the Silmarillion. It is one of the best books in the English language, and it'll tell you all these stories way more beautiful than Joel or I could ever tell them.
I thought you were just going to stop at Joel, and I was like, well, thanks.
Way better than Joel could ever do.
So don't even bother. Now, Eärendil is also one of those characters that has a few different names. He's got, of course, his actual name, Eärendil, which is a Quenya word for love of the sea. He's got the name Azrabel. I think I said that right. That's
I believe that's right.
Adunic translation. That's
Adonaic.
the Adonaic.
That's the language of Numenor.
So he had a special name for the men of Numenor. Then he also had the name Ardamire.
Ardamire.
Quenya, also for the Arda jewel.
Also known as Eärendil the Mariner, Star of High Hope, and the Blessed.
So he's, obviously by the names, he's a pretty prophesized character.
Mm-hmm. So as we talked about in the last episode, he is foretold by Huor's prophecy. At the Nirnaeth Arnordiad, he looks at Turgon and he says, "From you and I, a new star shall arise." And that's Eärendil.
Yeah, he was prophesizing his grandson, essentially. Now, at this point also, you recall after the Nirnaeth that this is a point where Melkor has a pretty good hold on Beleriand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his whole goal was to kind of get out and take over the world, and he's almost accomplished it at this point. There are a few holdouts left, and Gondolin was one of them. Doriath was one of them. And he's out to kind of get rid of him. He's trying really hard to find Gondolin. He's really bent on Gondolin specifically.
Right, yeah. Because he hates the sons of Fingolfin, remember? Because Fingolfin gave him the 7 wounds, and he's the only person that ever confronted Melkor directly up until this point. So he really hates the sons of Fingolfin. And so Fingon is killed, the eldest son of Fingolfin is killed in the Nirnaeth, and Turgon's the last standout of the line of Fingolfin.
So to Eärendil, if you'll remember from our last episode about Tuor, Eärendil was born of Tuor from the house of Hador and Haleth. Is that right? And
Well, he was descendant of all 3.
Yeah, he was. His father was Hador and Haleth, and then his mother was from the house of Beor.
Mm-hmm.
That's Eärendil. And he was born in the year 503 and raised in Gondolin, up until the point where Gondolin fell when Melkor finally attacked, and they were displaced down to the area around the mouths of Sirion.
Mm-hmm. Where they met survivors from the fall of Doriath. And so essentially what happens in the fall of Doriath is the sons of Feanor know that Dior has one of the Silmarils after Beren and Luthien pass away, and they're giving them an ultimatum, give up the jewel or die, essentially. And the sons of Feanor end up wiping out Doriath, and they kill Dior. The Silmaril is given to his daughter, Elwing, and they flee to the mouths of Sirion, where they meet up with Eärendil and the refugees from Gondolin.
Yeah, so now it's basically kind of Círdan's neck of the woods, along the shores in the mouths of Sirion. You've got all the refugees left from the elves and men around. I mean, all of the major kingdoms have fallen at this point. Mm-hmm. And Morgoth basically runs most of Beleriand, other than this small strip along the shore.
Yeah.
Now, in about the year 530, Eärendil married Elwing, daughter of the kingdom of Doriath, the one who had the Silmaril.
And this was the 3rd union of elves and men.
Mm-hmm.
The first being Beren and Luthien, the second being Eärendil and Eärendil, Celebrimbor, and Tuor, which was the last episode, guys.
Mm-hmm. And these two were kind of special in that they are both, Eärendil and Elwing, they're both kind of half-elven, are they not? Eärendil is the son of an elf and a man, and
yeah, they're both
Elwing is also...
Because Dior is both, yeah.
Yeah, from Dior, who is also elf and man.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some pretty special folks.
Yeah.
And they get married. And actually, in the same year that they get married is the year that Eärendil's parents, Tuor and Eärendil, it's when they set sail off into the west and disappear.
Right, and we never hear from them.
And we never hear from them again. So after that, 2 years after that, actually, is when they have their first set of children. Elros and
Elrond, who you might be familiar with, or you should be familiar with if you read the Third Age stuff.
If anyone is listening to this Tolkien podcast and they don't know who Elrond is, you've got a bit of catching up.
You got a little bit of catching up to do. But hey, don't be discouraged because it's all lovely and you'll love it. But Elrond is the lore master from Rivendell.
He's a huge character moving forward in the Second and Third Ages.
Yeah, and he's one of these half-elven sons of Eärendil.
So actually, in that same year that they had their children, Eärendil, with the help of Círdan the shipwright, built a special ship called Vingalot. And Eärendil actually began his own voyage into the west, initially searching for his parents.
And so at this point, Eärendil's out on a voyage, and lo and behold, the sons of Feanor have heard that the Silmaril has escaped to the mouths of Sirion, and they want it back. So they attack these poor refugees.
Yeah, these poor refugees
that have seen so much shit at the hands of the enemy, let alone now at the hands of the sons of friggin' Feanor, the some of the biggest dicks. And at this point, there's only so by the time they attack the mouths of Sirion, the only two there's Maedhros and Maglor are the only ones that survive. Amrod and Amros are killed in the battle.
Are the rest of the sons of Feanor killed at this point?
Yeah, because Celegorm, Curufin, and Caranthir die at the sacking of Doriath.
Oh, really? So a lot of them died in Doriath.
So by the end of the third kinslaying, which is when they kill all these...
Which is this most recent one.
The one that we're talking about right now. By the end of this, there's only two sons of Feanor left. Maedhros and Maglor.
Who are the two oldest, right?
The two eldest, yeah.
Yeah. So they come and they... the third kinslaying and final kinslaying, these few remaining sons of Feanor just fuck up the mouths of Sirion, killing people, and Elwing, having the Silmaril, realizes what's about to happen to her. This is why they're here. This is what's going on. They're about to kill everyone and kill her sons. And in just grief, she throws herself into the ocean. With the Silmaril into the sea.
Into the sea. Where she is one of the great miracles of Ulmo happens.
Yeah.
And she's taken up by Ulmo, and she's transformed into the likeness of a swan. And she has the Silmaril upon her breast, so it's like a swan with the Jewel of Feanor on its breast, and she flies out and meets Eärendil, who's on voyage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she meets up with Eärendil on voyage and tells him what's going on, that the sons of Feanor came and they were slaughtering, looking for the Silmaril, and just, the grief continues for these poor refugees. And he's moved to the point where his goal now is no longer to find his parents, but he is absolutely set on finding Valinor, because he knows at this point we've got to get the Valar in on this, because this isn't gonna end well for anyone.
So yeah, and as the sacking of the mouths of Sirion is happening, the Gilgalad, who's the eldest son of Fingon, who was killed in the Nirnaeth, he then becomes, after the fall of Gondolin, when Turgon is killed, he becomes the High King of the Noldor.
Oh, so he's the current High King.
He's the current High King of the Noldor, yeah.
Gilgalad, okay.
Yeah, and he's essentially the last High King of the Noldor.
Right.
Yeah.
As we come to find.
In the Second Age here, coming up. But yeah, so Círdan the shipwright, and Gilgalad close friends. They send ships to aid the mouths of Sirion, but it's essentially too late.
Right, they're close by. They're not in the same area in the mouth of Sirion that these refugees were, but they're relatively close by. So they tried to send ships up the coast to save them, and it was too late. Sons of Feanor just slaughtered, and that's when Elwing threw herself into the sea. But now that she's safely on board the Vingalot with Eärendil, he is now set to try to find Valinor, but he can't find his way through these enchanted waters that are supposed to keep him from there. There's turbulence, there's darkness and fog, but he finds that with Elwing and with the light from the Silmaril, it's like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, man.
Right, exactly.
It's like what guides him through and apparently pierces through the magic veil, and they make it.
Yeah.
They actually make it to Valinor.
On the ship called Vingalot, which is made by who else but Círdan the Shipwright.
Apparently it's supposed to be like one of the best ships ever.
And a side note, it is actually Stephen Colbert owns a Tesla sports car, and he calls it Vingalot. And he did a really funny joke about, he was talking about the Tesla, and he said, my Tesla's called Vingalot. And then he looks right at the camera, and he's like, if you understood that reference, I'm sorry you had such a hard time in high school. Yeah, so Vingalot, the most awesome ship ever, makes it all the way to Valinor.
Mm-hmm. And now you have both Eärendil and Elwing. They are both half elven and half man here together out of love for each other, using
and love of their people.
And using the Silmaril to guide their way back to Valinor, here to try to plea with the Valar to intervene with the events going on in Middle-earth and save them from Melkor, because they haven't been doing much throughout the First Age, and there's been all these battles and slaughters going on.
And when they get there, Eärendil is he originally says, I'm going to be the only one to set foot on Valinor, on the shores of Aman, because I'm the only one that's going to take the wrath of the Valar if they're super pissed off that I'm here.
Right, because anyone that makes it, they're supposed to get killed.
It's a death warrant. So
he wants her to live.
Yeah, and there's a small crew on the ship too that ends up on Vingalot that stays harbored.
There's a crew on Vingalot?
Yeah, there's like 3 dudes also on the ship.
Okay.
And they have to stay. But Elwing refuses, and she eventually follows Eärendil.
Yeah, she chooses to accompany him onto the shores, even though she knew it might mean her death. She wants to accompany her lover on this major, major journey.
And thus, Eärendil becomes the first of all mortal men to set foot in Valinor.
And he actually goes out to find the Valar. He travels into Valinor. Elwing actually ends up staying along the shores, and she travels down the shores and actually meets some of the elves.
Yeah, she ends up in Elquilande with the Teleri down there.
Yeah, some of the elves that have been living peacefully and blissfully in Valinor since, the beginning of the First Age? Not even earlier than that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, way early on.
Way early on.
In the Years of the Trees.
Years of the Trees.
And she tells them her story, essentially, and they're moved and fascinated by what she has to say.
Yeah, they fall in love with her, and they're absolutely moved and pitied by these stories of everything going on in Middle-earth. And while she's enamoring these elves with tales from far-off Middle-earth, Eärendil finds his way to the Valar. Does he go to the Ring of Doom?
He goes to Tirion first.
Oh, he goes to the city of Tirion. Because
remember, it's at they're having a festival.
Another festival.
They're having another festival, and it's the same festival that Melkor and Ungoliant came in during to kill the trees.
Oh,
remember?
Is it that same festival?
It's the same festival.
Oh, man.
So he shows up, and Tyrion's deserted because everyone's hanging out with the Valar right now. They're partying.
Right.
And the streets are deserted, and he walks through these streets filled with diamond dust. That's how dope this city is, guys. There's diamond dust in the street. His cloak is covered in sparkly diamond dust. And he eventually meets somebody perched up on one of the I think he's on like one of the walls of Tirion or something like that, and he says hail Eärendil, and it's Eonwe, the Herald of Manwë, who we've talked about before.
Oh, really? Eonwe is the one that greets him?
Yeah, Eonwe is the one that greets him. Yeah.
So he's not an elf, but he is
he's a Maiar.
He's a Maiar.
Yeah, he's the weapons expert of the Maiar.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Herald of Manwë. So he meets him, and he takes him to the Ring of Doom, where they sort all this out.
Yeah, Eärendil lets forth his plea to the Valar and asks for aid for men and elves in Middle-earth. So he's asking on behalf of both kin for both of their sorrows, and not for his own sake. And for that reason, Manwë actually forbore the punishment of death, because it was out of love for his people, all of the children of Iluvatar.
And also Elwing was out of love for her husband.
Yeah, Elwing also out of out of love for someone else.
And so there's a couple things that happens at this point. The Valar are moved to actually help the struggling souls of Middle Earth, essentially, of all Beleriand. And another thing that happens is because Eärendil and Elwing are both descended of a combination of elves, men, and Maiar, they are given the choice to pick their kindreds. And all the sons of Eärendil are able to do this.
Yeah, so them and their family, their offspring, are given a special choice where they can actually choose whether to be a mortal man and go to whatever the fate of mortal man is after death. Or
We don't know,
Or they can be elven and end up in... Don't they end up in Valinor after their death?
Right, in the Halls of Mandos, yeah.
In the Halls of Mandos, yeah. So they get this choice.
And so our two sons of Eärendil here, Elrond and Elros, of them, Elros chooses to be the likeness of man. Elrond goes on to be elven lore master, as we know. And then Eärendil, Elwing chooses to become of elf kind, immortal. And Eärendil, even though he really wants to be mortal, he wants to, because he identifies more with the House of Hador and his father's people.
The fate of men is what he wants to be a part of.
Right. And but he loves Elwing so much that he decides to be of elf kind.
With her.
Do
they stay in Valinor after that?
No, remember they...
Oh, yes. They get involved in the War of Wrath.
Right, which is what we're about to get into. So, the War of Wrath is basically the war to end all wars. It's real crazy. We're not going to talk about it super, super in depth, but we're going to give you a rundown of what happens. So, essentially all the elves, the remaining Noldor in Valinor, all of the Vanyar, and they all muster, and they're going to go, and all the Maiar, and all the Valar themselves.
Yeah, all just the entire host of Valinor.
Everybody. The host of Valinor is going to leave, and they're going to go kick ass in Beleriand. The Teleri originally refused to fight in the war because they're very still mad about the kinslaying, the first one.
That's right.
The very first kinslaying. So they don't want to help the Sons of Feanor, essentially. So they're like, fuck that. But they eventually agree to ferry people over, but they never set foot on the shores of Beleriand.
So they agree to ultimately help in a way, but they're not going to go fight.
They're not going to legitimately fight in the war.
Because, I mean, the Sons of Feanor are all dicks.
And so, yeah, and at this, so it's a huge siege of Angband. Morgoth lets out his... everything.
Yeah, I mean, this is his final defense.
This is his final last stand, and he releases the winged dragons
for the first time.
Which becomes a huge, huge problem.
Right. That's your first stereotypical winged fire drake, and that's obviously a lot more of a problem than a grounded one. And yeah, so the battle itself literally destroys the entirety of Beleriand. It sinks it.
And the leader of the dragons, the biggest one, and Calagan the Black, is slain by the flying ship.
That's right.
Vingalot and Eärendil come back.
Yeah, so
Eärendil's got the Silmaril up on his forehead, fucking flying on this ship that the Valar had made into this. They hallowed it, and they made it into this magical ship that can just fly in the air. So he flies over, and with the help of Throndor. So it's basically... Thorondor and the Eagles are fighting these winged dragons, and Eärendil's there fucking helping them, and he's like leading the battle.
Boat.
Yeah, in a flying boat, and he kills and Calagan the Black, whose wingspan is said to reach the peaks of the Thangorodrim. Like, it's that big. Like, he blotted out the sun. Like, it was.
Yeah, he was huge. He was not just big, but he was a colossal sized dragon.
Yeah, and Eärendil kills that motherfucker, and he falls to the ground and shatters the peaks of the Thangorodrim.
Yeah, there are 3 major peaks of Thangorodrim. They're like mountains made of slag. And
they're huge.
His body itself is so huge that it falling down destroys
them. And eventually the Valar themselves wrestle their way into Angband. They get down to the throne room, and Melkor is there, and they cut off his feet.
Yeah, they cut his... Doesn't he plea one final time?
He pleads for mercy.
And as he pleads, they hew his feet out.
They hew his feet out from underneath him so he can't move. And then they wrap him in that chain that Aule made, the Angainor, the great chain, and they wrap him up in this. They're like, "You remember this shit, bitch?" And they and they wrap him up in this chain, and then they break the iron crown and they shove it down upon his neck like a collar.
Oh yeah, they shove it over his head, down around his neck.
Yeah, and they take the Silmarils out,
Mm-hmm.
and the Silmarils are entrusted to Eärendil, and and he takes them from there on.
So that's basically the end of Melkor as we know it.
Right, yeah, and they cast him through the. Oh, this is a real cool shit too. They cast him through the door of night out into the void, and they set Eärendil and Vingalot to watch
With the Silmaril on his brow.
with the Silmaril upon his brow, and there's actually a point when Maedhros and Maglor see the star arise in the sky. They say, "Surely now that is a Silmaril that shines upon in the sky." And, like, they know it right away. They're like, "Yeah,
Right.
that's a Silmaril up there." And so this new star that rises in the sky is actually Eärendil. And and okay. Oh, here's a great Third Age tie-in. So the vial of Galadriel from the movies / the Lord of the Rings is said to give off the light of Eärendil, which is the star, which is actually a Silmaril.
Right.
So the light of the vial
Is the light of the trees.
is the light of the trees, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you say to activate that vial? Joel, I'll give you $50 right now if you can tell me what you say to light up the vial.
Don't do this to me. You know I wouldn't be able to pronounce it even if I remembered it.
So it's Aya Eärendil Elenon an Kalima, which means Hail Eärendil, brightest of stars. And that's what you say, and it lights up, boom, with the light of the Silmarils.
Yeah. So that's why he gets his name that references him as like a star.
Mm-hmm.
He is the bright, he's the star of high hope, because after this he literally is him in his boat with a Silmaril. He is a star that flies over sky, guarding basically night from the return of
Morgoth. And he's always up there. That's what's really cool about Elrond, who's a character
Right.
in
think about Eärendil's kids now.
Yeah.
Because
Elrond.
he had his one kid who decided to be man, and he goes on to be the first king of Numenor, right?
Right.
Right, and so they go through lines and lines and lines and lineages and generations, and I mean, Numenor falls and ends by the time the Third Age comes around, but you've still got Elrond, who's like not only like the great uncle of Aragorn, but he could look into the sky. I think you were the one that pointed this out one night, and we were just laughing about it.
Yeah. Look up into the sky. There's my father up there, guys. You want to meet my dad? He's right up in the sky.
See that star flying by?
That's my father.
Hey, he's flying in a boat.
Flying in his magic boat, like, what's your dad like,
But that's the story of Eärendil, guys. That pretty much wraps up the First Age.
Yeah. That wraps up the First Age and the War of Wrath and the fall of Melkor.
So we hope you guys really enjoyed all of this so far. These were some of our favorite stories.
Right, and these are all, like I said, guys, all in the Silmarillion. So just pick up that book. I'm looking at it right now. How many pages is it, Joel?
Let's look.
The Silmarillion is... Let's see, there's a lot of stuff in the back.
Yeah, there's a lot of diagrams and such, which are also one of the biggest parts of the Silmarillion that I love. The diagrams and the maps that they give you are super relevant and useful.
It's 304 pages, guys.
And that includes not only the Quenta Silmarillion, but a little bit of extra stories to fill in the blanks.
It's literally 10,000 years of history in a single 300 pages.
It's awesome.
So pick it up, read it. Oh, it's the greatest book, guys.
But so that covers pretty much actually most of the content that we wanted to cover for our first season.
Yeah, and next episode is going to be a little fun one just for me and Joel.
We've been leading up to this since episode 1.
Since episode 1, guys. We've mentioned this character
in almost
every episode, if not every episode, because he's the most important supporting character in all of Tolkien. And
we're making this decision, by the way.
We're making this decision.
By
our reckoning, he is the most important supporting character in all of Tolkien, and that is Círdan, the mother friggin' shipwright. And we're going to be talking about him the next episode.
Yeah, that's what we're going to cover. We're finally going to tell you, if you haven't already gathered who he is, we're going to tell you exactly who he is and what he's been doing. But he's pretty instrumental. He is in the middle of like everything that happens.
Everything, guys. And we're gonna get all into it tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
In the
Next
tomorrow
time.
in the next episode, guys. So what we got planned for you now? We got a little bit planned for the end here, guys, because that was a short one. So we're gonna do this thing. It's a little game that me and Joel came up with called Tolkien Brawl, and it's gonna require some input from you guys. So it's basically like a hypothetical fight. So what we basically did is we have a bunch of character cards, a bunch of modifier cards, and a bunch of place cards. So we draw a place card, we draw 2 characters and 2 modifiers, and we argue about who would win this fight. And it's just a little fun game we're gonna try out, and then essentially,
so each of us are going to make an argument for whatever we randomly draw, right?
right.
And so we're just going to get these random subject cards, and
We have no idea.
We have no idea. We're going to try to come up with a defense for them, and we're going to try to let you guys decide who you think would ultimately win.
Yeah.
So
let's do it here, Joel.
Let's give it. We're going to give these cards a little bit of a shuffle, a little bit of Foley.
A little bit of Foley there. I'm just gonna do it with my lips.
Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Oh, fuck me.
Oh, you dropped the cards.
So we'll draw a place first, if I can get my.
And these are all
straight.
different characters, all different places from ages 1 through 3.
So that's modifiers.
It's a
that's
real-
and that's places.
Yeah,
Okay.
and these are. It could be a good character versus a good character, evil character versus evil character.
Yeah, we just tried to come up with a handful of characters, a handful of modifiers like weapons or powers or something,
Yeah,
and then
and
just
some funny ones.
a handful of places where this fight could happen. And our place this time,
What is it?
it is. I don't like that one. We're gonna choose now.
What was
We
it?
wanted to just on the bridge of Khazad-dûm. There we go.
Okay, here we go.
In Moria. Here we
In
go.
Moria, Bridge of Khazad-dûm.
That's pretty good.
fabled fight of the Balrog, the Durin's Bane, and Gandalf.
Right, that's where Gandalf falls. Let's see. I'm gonna draw one, and let's see. Take that one. All right, so this battle is on the bridge of Khazad-dûm in Moria, and my character, you're gonna hate me, is Turin Turambar.
Oh no!
And my modifier is having just eaten 4 pieces of Lambeth bread.
Which Turin did. Remember in the story, he was the first man to ever be gifted Lambeth bread.
I don't think he ate 4 pieces.
I don't know if he ate 4 of them.
Pepin may have got everyone on that.
So okay, mine's a little impractical here.
Okay.
Mine is an army of Easterlings.
Okay.
An army of Easterlings, and oh no, and Finrod Felagund swore an oath to you. So it's an army of orcs, or excuse me, an army of Easterlings plus
The aid of
Finrod Felagund, which means you're gonna get magic in there. So I don't know. This is gonna be interesting.
All right. Well, I think Turin should win because he has Gorthang. And he just ate a ton of Lambeth bread, so he's got energy to go for days and days and days of fighting an entire army of Easterlings. I'm going to go with that.
And I mean, you do got a good point. If he has I would say he probably wouldn't win, except in the very place where we're arguing.
Yeah, we got to take into account the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. It's single file.
It's single file. It was literally designed by the dwarves, so you could pick people off if they were coming in, like had to come in single file.
Yep.
So this army
Having
of
Turin being the one man there, standing there with that sword, trying to defend.
oh my god, it would last for days, and there would be just bodies falling into the thing.
Oh yeah.
But here's the thing.
Okay, let's hear what you've got.
I got an army of Easterlings, which is an indeterminate amount of Easterlings.
Okay.
So, but also Finrod Felagund swore an oath, and here's the thing: Finrod has never met Turin.
This is true.
So they don't know each other, right?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know why I'm saying that, but like they don't know each other. Okay, I don't know.
Okay.
So Finrod's gonna have no problem if he in fact swore an oath to these.
Oh,
Easterlings.
so you're just saying that he has nothing for Turin, like he doesn't have a friendship that would stop him.
And they've never met each other, so like he's like, why? Okay,
no reason not to kill him.
I'll help these. Yeah, no reason not to kill him is essentially, and he's got magic on his side, and he can change. Like, how do you know he couldn't just like, what if What if fucking Finrod took his face shaping magic and just turned himself into like
An orc.
into fucking
Or,
Nienor?
I'm sorry. He could change. He could
could
change
become
himself
Nienor
into
and be
one of
like-
the Easterlings that comes on the bridge, and then I don't know, do the thing he does in the dungeons of Syrian, where he breaks forth and wrestles you naked.
Oh yeah. Oh man, this just got so much better.
He did. I gotta say, I mean, he did kill a
werewolf
naked.
while naked. Yeah. The only character who ever did
But
it.
the werewolf was not wielding Gorthang.
I don't know, guys. I think this is a tough one, and we're gonna throw it. We're gonna throw it out to you guys. So you hit us up on Twitter or Facebook and do hashtag Tolkien Brawl, and we're gonna kind of tally these up, and hit us up with your input, guys.
Who do you think would win?
Who do you think would win this epic fight of Turin at the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, having just been jacked up on lambus bread? He ate 4, which is like enough to feed
An army.
like 20 people, and against an army of Easterlings marching single file over the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, but also having had an oath sworn to them by Finrod Felagund, who killed a werewolf naked.
So tell us what you think, guys.
Tell us what you think. Hit us up.
We hope you guys have had fun this episode. We'll see you next time, and as always, keep on talking.
Keep on Tolkien. Aure and Tuluba.